And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. History made on Capitol Hill. A House resolution has been passed honoring the souls whose lives were uprooted by the transatlantic slave trade. For years, Congressman Al Green has been fighting for Slavery Remembrance Day to be acknowledged. He explained why this is such a big moment.
It hasn't been a pleasant history, but we are going to commemorate the lives that were lost during slavery. And there were literally millions of lives lost to slavery. Some of the persons lost their lives in transit. In fact, there are stories of how the sharks would follow the ships because they knew that bodies would be thrown overboard. And of course, once they got here, they were taken to the auction block where parents would be separated from their children, husbands and wives were separated, and they were sold to various slaveholders. And they would spend the rest of their lives working for someone, sometimes from sunup to sunset and after, sometimes without proper food, sometimes without proper clothing. But most of the time, slaveholders were trying to take care of their property. So they would treat it such that it could endure and last, but not always pleasant. And sometimes when persons were out of line, as you know, ugly things would happen. But it was a long history of slavery, and it took us a while to get to it. But Congress on yesterday passed a resolution commemorating Slavery Commemoration Day. And this Slavery Remembrance Day resolution will allow us on the 20th of August each year to commemorate the lives that were lost to slavery on the 20th of August each year, or the Sunday before or after, because many churches will do this. And if it's on a Saturday, they may choose to have the Sunday right after or the Sunday before.
How important is it that the rest of this country and the world realize the significance and the role that slaves played in building this country and other countries as well?
Well, it's important for a multiplicity of reasons. Let's start with this. First of all, it's important that we acknowledge it because there's a move afoot in our state of Texas to label slavery as involuntary relocation. Well, we know that that's not the case.
And that's the word, that's the foolishness of the year, I've heard.
Yes. And so we want to make sure that people understand what slavery really was, not some whitewashed, some sanitized version of slavery, because there was nothing pleasant about it for those who were enslaved. And it's also important for everybody in the country to understand it because you never want to repeat the horrors of history. We have a 9/11 remembrance because we want people to remember 9/11, and we don't ever want to see that happen again. Pearl Harbor remembrance. We don't want the Pearl of the Pacific to ever be bombed again as it was. And we have a Holocaust remembrance because we don't want the horrors of the Holocaust to ever be repeated again. So slavery remembrance now will take its place among circumstances similar to those. None of them are the same, all horrible, but such that people will know that there's a time to commemorate the lives of those lost, just as we celebrate on Juneteenth. And I celebrate Juneteenth, I applaud it, but that's about celebrating freedom, and we should do that. But just after we do that on August the 20th, we should now commemorate the lives that were lost.
All right. Congressman Al Green, always good to talk to you, and congratulations on this House resolution. We thank you for joining us here on The Factor tonight, sir.